Mainstream neuroscience operates on the premise that the physical brain generates consciousness. However, this model struggles to cross the explanatory gap, the mystery of how biological functions translate into the actual felt experience of being. We can address this by treating consciousness as a fundamental physical field, much like gravity or electromagnetism. In this framework, experience is a primary property of the universe rather than a biological accident. To validate this shift, we use a research method inspired by PCR in biology. We identify tiny, anomalous fragments of truth in history and physics, then amplify them to see if they form a coherent model of reality. These fragments appear across centuries, from ancient Sanskrit texts like Advaita Vedanta to the quantum equations of Erwin Schrödinger. When isolated and compared, they describe the same structural foundations for a conscious universe. Defining consciousness as a foundational field mirrors how physics defines mass or charge. It provides a base property from which all other observable laws can be derived. Before the Big Bang, the consciousness field exists in universal superposition, a vibrating void of pure potential. The transition into form establishes a fundamental binary, nothing and everything. This creates structure, producing localized excitations where individual minds emerge as temporary ripples of awareness. The collapse into physical matter follows a four-step process. First, the field presents a wave of probability. Second, an observer node interacts with that wave, generating a coherence field. When this exceeds a universal threshold, the formless data snaps into a three-dimensional physical structure. Matter functions as the mathematical result of an observer interacting with the field of potential, providing a physical mechanism for the origins of the universe. This presents a challenge. Why don't 8 billion different observers collapse 8 billion contradictory universes? Structural stability comes from mutual observation. When nodes interact, their perspectives reconcile, creating a collective all-nodes shield. This networked agreement is what we experience as consensus reality. Consider how this collective network reacts to disruption. What happens to the stability of our shared world when its core beliefs are suddenly challenged? Sociologist Emile Durkheim described this state as anomie. It represents more than social confusion. It is the fragmentation of constraints holding our shared reality together. This model provides testable predictions. If consciousness is a field, then coherent mental states should produce measurable biological synchrony and leave a statistical footprint on physical systems, such as random number generators. Establishing consciousness as a physical field means that collective human emotion and intention are quantifiable forces acting upon the material world. This model reconciles quantum wave function monism with the unus mundus, revealing a reality where cosmic and mental structures are one. The individual exists as a localized node, a self-referential system where the act of being is how reality observes itself. We summarize this architecture in 5 stages: the foundational field, the localized excitation, the physical collapse, the dance of observers, and the quantifiable proof. Understanding these foundations shifts our role. We live as active participants in the ongoing creation of the physical universe, driven by the coherence of our own observation.